Namaste, good morning, friends and family. Just want to send you infinite love and blessings. Today, I know I didn't put out a video yesterday, so today I decided to write a little bit before making a little video. And in today's video, I would like to talk about karma yoga. So again, like all the YouTubers do, just click the like, maybe subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying so far. So this video again, it's going to be about karma yoga. I was just kind of reflecting on, we are practicing a little bit of isolation in our homes, our apartments, the quarantine of your city, your state, wherever you might be, or self-quarantining, and just the opportunity for self-reflection that kind of comes through this isolation and just limited sort of ability to go out and be in the world. And just yesterday, I was watching a video, an older video of my spiritual meditation teacher, my guru, Mr. Roy Eugene Davis, and he was speaking at a conference, and in his speech, he brought up some recent history and was commenting on the uniqueness of today's world and the emergence of our consciously creative, self-awareness. And he specifically outlined, advances in technology, the exponential growth, it seems, in our technological advances, and then even suggested that individually and collectively, we as humans are feeling some inner stirrings of our soul or our inner essence to consciously know and realize our true essence of being. And, given the environment that we're living in today with the self-quarantine and the unknown reality of the coronavirus and how, we will be affected by that, it can certainly be challenging. We can be met with difficulties, not only on the health side of things, but also on the work side of things. Some of us might be fortunate to work from home with an employer. Others of us, like myself included, we might be in an industry that's reliant on going out and being in public, being around groups of people. So maybe we're out of work. So we're certainly experiencing challenges and difficulties right now. And in that, we might find it hard to focus on something other than the daily anxiety of what's unknown from moment to moment. But I'm very confident that we can prevail, and we can use this moment as a time for growth and change. And so to experience that positive growth and change, we need to learn to direct our minds so that our minds can be steadfast and fixed on constructive goals and endeavors that are going to be in harmony with life's creative, supporting life processes, right? Because deep down, we all want to experience permanent peace and happiness. And in the yoga world of things, there's many different ways that we could try to cultivate that deeper peace and happiness, but there's one practice of yoga, it's called karma yoga. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, right, we're going to practice karma yoga or learn about karma yoga today. So karma yoga's focus is on action, the things that we do or the things that we don't do, and the cause and effect that happens, with action or inaction. And in the human sense of things, we're also increasing our awareness to the types of attachments, aversions, expectations, and judgments that come up with action or inaction. So karma yoga will help to ease our daily suffering and invite us to experience a more permanent peace and happiness inside. So generally speaking, as we live our lives, we develop subtle likes and dislikes, things that we enjoy and things that we certainly despise doing. And these likes and dislikes, they can subtly influence the actions that we choose, right? And They can have us seek out things, experiences that maybe aren't ultimately life-enhancing for us and supportive or enhancing to the people and communities around us. So karma, again, is the result of actions. So karma yoga is this practice of being aware of our actions, being aware of how we relate to the results of our actions and things like that. And like I said, ultimately, deep down, we want to experience peace and happiness. And we want peace and happiness that's going to be not just a physical pleasure or some sort of momentary mental delight. We want to experience peace and happiness that is satisfying for our soul. And karma yoga can help us in that regard. So to practice karma yoga, we want to utilize a few practical tools and techniques. In the mindfulness sense of things, meditation practice and mindfulness practices is one of those tools and techniques. We also want to practice dispassionate non-attachment. We also want to have applied knowledge, like using our knowledge, applying it to the world for the best results possible, using our best effort. Then we want to also be constantly learning and practicing discernment. And then ultimately, the last tool or technique would be what I guess in the yoga world we call it divine surrender. I pronounced the Sanskrit a little wrong, but it's Ishvara Pranadhyana, divine surrender. And so let's go through those different tools and techniques, right? In the previous videos, we've talked about meditation practice and simple ones of being aware of your nose, your breath, controlling your breath, doing an awareness of your spine, those sorts of techniques. But meditation practice is used to help train our minds. So we learn to quiet the mind or that mental chatter so that we can think clearly. So in meditation practice, a lot of people erroneously assume that it's immediately calming the mind, you're crystal clear, there's no thoughts at all, but that's not the case. A meditation practice is where we choose an object to focus on. That could be the breathing exercises, it could be a mantra, a phrase or affirmation that you repeat mentally, it could be a visualization, but basically we have something that we focus on, and then we bring our mind and attention back to that point of focus anytime that the mind wanders away. And there are other nuances that can come with a meditation practice, but overall, this repetitive practice of coming back to your point of focus when the mind has wandered away from it is what cultivates mental strength and helps us with dispassionate non-attachment, the second tool and technique. So dispassionate non-attachment is really a process of letting go and allowing life to be as it is in each moment. We tend to harbor judgments and expectations for the world, and learning to recognize this is part of how we begin to dislodge ourselves from being stuck emotionally and spiritually to the momentary changes. So the presence of peace and happiness from moment to moment, it greatly depends on our consciousness or our unconscious emotional expectation for the present condition of our lives. And this dispassionate non-attachment isn't like a process of letting go and just becoming emotionally mute or callous to how you're feeling or what's happening in the world, but rather it's just increasing our awareness of the emotional attachments and putting power back into our hands by giving us the ability to control and focus our mind. So again, dispassionate non-attachment isn't, like I said, this stone wall of stoic emotionlessness. Rather, it's using a meditation practice to recognize that there are emotional clingings that come up in each moment to our thoughts or to how we're experiencing reality, and then seeing what it is and kind of letting it go. So it's truly experiencing the emotions in each moment, but not letting them affect us so vividly as they come up. We can experience them, we can let them be, but then we sort of let them go. So that's the dispassionate non-attachment approach. That is our second tool and technique. Now, applied knowledge, the third technique or tool that we would want to use. Applied knowledge is using our best effort with the skills and know-how that we have available to guide our thoughts and actions towards the best results. Now, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the first chapter, the seventh little phrase, he mentions in there that valid knowledge is gained through direct perception. And in this process, we live each moment with the best effort that we can muster, backed by the knowledge that we currently have, and we reflect on that experience, and we use each opportunity as a way to improve ourselves. And through this practice, we just get better at producing ideal results. So for comparison, we can think of somebody that trains for a sport, or somebody that researches and studies, a specialized topic, and ultimately they become better at their skill or their area of focus because they repetitively put forth their best effort and are open to learning something new, right? They don't have an ego there that's maybe a little bit of an ego, I'm sure we all do, but they're not saying this is the best way. They learn through trial and error the best way to swing the bat, or they learn through trial and error the best way to go about a calculation or some research study, and they become better at it. So the third skill in the karma yoga practice is applying our knowledge in each moment the best way that we can, and putting forth our best effort so that we can learn from it, and kind of letting our ego go as we go through that process. And so the fourth tool or technique for karma yoga practice kind of goes in with that third applied knowledge. We get knowledge through learning and discerning. So to have a clear and direct perceptions of the world, we need to be curious. We need to learn more. So there's so much that's out there to learn, fun facts and figures, different life hacks that we can do to create new experiences that increase our awareness. There's also, too, misinformation that's out in the world. We can be deceived and misled. So that's where discernment comes in, right? So discernment is our ability to seek the truth, looking past opinion and noticing things as they are, rather than how we might want them to be or how somebody else might want to convey the reality. So we find discernment by seeking the truth, seeking things as they are, putting aside judgment, expectation, looking past opinion, and noticing the differences as they are. And again, always remaining open to changing that, right? So we could think that we know something fully, and then something else comes up and it changes our perception of that. So we use discernment to find out the truth there. And the more that we know, of course, the more that we're going to be empowered. The less that we know, the more easier it is to experience fear and anxiety. And then ultimately, the last tool and technique that we might use in a karma yoga practice is what I called a divine surrender. And this is kind of an abstract concept that requires vigilant monitoring, because we're trying to be in constant remembrance that we're living in the experience of God's manifested universe. We're always in God's presence, right? The creative potential of life manifested us, manifested the world around us, is manifesting the wind that's blowing, right? It's pretty wild if you just sit back and think of how we got to be here. If we go back to the Big Bang Theory, it's so wild, right? There could be, a collection of energy somewhere in space that just somehow decided to, or through whatever reason and process, expanded out, and now we've got all these collections of forces and energies and atoms that ultimately brought us to this moment in space and time. So it's pretty wild. So we are constantly experiencing and living the creative potential of life. And so each moment really is kind of a beckoning to be in and with that creative presence, that creative force. So surrendering ourselves to God, into God, this divine surrender is not a passive process. We can't remain ignorant of the fact that we have a free will, right? That we have a discriminative intelligence. So since we have to make choices, we should choose wisely by using our knowledge to the best of our ability and putting forth our best effort, and then letting go of emotional attachments, judgments, and expectations by having faith that we're living in God. And so again, this is not a blind surrendering, but rather we're surrendering our ego, but not our responsibility to do and be the best that we can. And so through the practice of divine surrender, we ultimately are opening ourselves up to the grace of God, to the grace of creative, life-supporting processes, because we're doing our best, right? We're doing what is going to support the well-being of ourselves, the well-being of those around us, the environment around us, and that's what life ultimately is doing, right? The sun is providing energy and resources for the plants around us. The sun provides resources for us. So, these cosmic forces and processes are supportive of life. If it wasn't life supporting, we wouldn't be here, right? So put yourself in the way of those life supporting creative processes by surrendering into the divine. By doing our best, learning. So karma yoga essentially is a practice that most people can practically use in their daily lives. And we will find a deeper peace and happiness by using, karma to help us. And karma, again, is just cause and effect. And we can bring out the best in each moment by applying our best and letting go of expectation, judgment, and surrendering into that creative expression of life itself. So while we are right now experiencing challenging and difficult times, let's try today to practice karma yoga, to put ourselves in that way of grace. Learn to focus your mind through a simple meditation practice. Let go of emotional dependence of each moment by practicing and using dispassionate non-attachment. And then, find amazement in the world through learning and experiencing new things, and do the best that you can with what you have, and seek to be, like I said, in God's presence, in the grace of the creative and life-supporting influences of life. So that's just a little review of karma yoga, how we can apply that in our daily lives. And again, I thank you so very much for joining me in this short talk. I wish you the best that could be. And in that regard, love and light. Namaste, my friends. I hope that you have a wonderful, blessed day.